Um, Hi, my name is Dr. Salim Ucan. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Town School. Um, what we do through these series of videos or webinars or presentations, we basically share our expertise, knowledge, and experience with you, hoping that you would find it helpful as well. So, Global Town School is an entirely personalized, hyper flexible, and innovative online private school serving students in grades 6 through 12th. We accept students from across the country. We also have some international students receiving quality education, flexible yet quality education from Global Town School. Um, Before I introduce who's in this presentation, I want to show you a quick video that summarizes what Global Town School is. And then I will introduce Bedri and Abbey Walton to you. We're going to discuss a phenomenal and very relevant topic with you today. But let's watch the video first.
Over the last 150 years, the world has seen major changes in the way we live. Phones, cars, computers, TVs, medicine change and upgrade nearly every year. So why haven't schools changed? Students are still in rows as passive learners. No personalization, no independent learning. Global Town is a school where education is totally reimagined to prepare students for today's innovation age. From factory-style schooling, where you are merely a number, to an entirely personalized education. Learn at your own pace with on-demand support. Conduct independent studies. Take college courses while in high school to pursue your academic interests. Don't be limited by what a traditional school system offers. From a space-bound learning to learning anywhere, anytime, in any form. Start and finish classes anytime. No need to wait for a quarter, semester, or school year to be over. Want to switch your school days to Wednesday to Sunday? No problem. Rather than designing your life around the school, design the school around your life. Get involved in sports, music, art, dance, acting, service. Start a business or travel around the globe. Instead of navigating your dreams around the school, navigate your school to pursue your dreams in life without sacrificing the quality of your education. Additionally, you get a success coach to support your academic and personal growth in a way that is second to none. Global Town School has the best, most comprehensive coaching in the country. Last but not least, your education is supported by the most recent technologies like VR and AI to give you the best education experience ever. Global Town School, exactly like no other school.
So I really like that video because it summarizes Global Town School so well. Because Global Town School is designed to empower students to pursue their interests and dreams outside the school without sacrificing the quality of their education. So that's who we are, and let's see who we have on this in this presentation with me. So I have Bedri Parlar. Bedri is a phenomenal, a truly phenomenal student that we worked with last year. And he's a high school senior and incoming freshman at a college. I'm sure he'll tell you more about it, but very impressive, individual. And I want to thank you, Bedri, for your time and that you generously accepted to facilitate today's topic, which is very relevant to you as well. So today's topic, and let me share the topic, it is how to write a perfect college essay. And Bedri did write one, so I'm sure he's going to share his experiences as well. How the process that he went through a little bit. Then, but most of the information will be shared by another expert at Global Town School, Abbey Walton. She's a success coach and an phenomenal English teacher that has been working with Global Town School. Abby, thank you for joining us as well. So I'm gonna pass the baton to Bedri to facilitate this today's webinar and presentation. Go ahead, Bedri. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ucan, for having me on. My name is Bedri Parlar. I'm currently a senior. I got into the Ohio State University and the University of Cincinnati, both on full rides, and I'm pursuing neuroscience. As for my experiences with Global Town, I have no complaints whatsoever. My experience has been amazing. Like, I've written so many essays and I've had them checked with all the coaches that I've worked with here at Global Town, and it's just been really helpful, and it took a lot of pressure off my back. So as for the high school that I go to right now, it's a high-performing high school, but there's a lot of students, especially in my class. There's around 400 students, and it's very hard for the counselors to provide a personalized coaching like Global Town does. And if I didn't have Global Town, I probably would have been very lost. So Miss Walton, I worked with another coach at Global Town. So this is actually my first time meeting you. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Abbey Walton. I'm a success coach at Global Town School. And I've been in education for 13 plus years as an English teacher, also administrator. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk about this subject. It's one very near and dear to my heart. So yeah, Bedri, congratulations on your acceptances. That's amazing. I'm curious though, how was the process of writing your college essay and, doing your applications? Like, maybe what were your hesitations, things like that?
I get starting off, it was very difficult for me to brainstorm ideas to put into my essay. And if I did get ideas, I was very lost on what to include and how much to include. Like, maybe I was oversharing or not sharing enough. And I wanted to make sure I was representing myself as best as possible and picking prompts that would allow me to show my best side to colleges. I primarily struggled with organizing my thoughts clearly and demonstrating interest, especially in my supplementary essays, and keeping things short to fit the word count. Like, it got easier as I started writing more essays, especially with the coaching that I received. Like, the first essay that I wrote was very difficult and challenging, but that laid the foundation for the other essays that I wrote.
Yeah. Cool.
I also, Bedri and Abby, I also realized working with students that they spend so much time on writing their main essay. And then when it comes to supplementary essays, they're like, oh my God, more essays, that they kind of their motivation, because they've put in so much into their main essay. So that's a phenomenon that happens to a lot of people too.
Yeah, super common.
Yeah.
I feel like once you get rolling though, it's kind of hard to stop for me, especially because I had like 20 different tabs open with a bunch of scholarships to apply to, and they all required like 500-word essays. And once I got my Common App thing done, I just used that as inspiration for my other essays, and I was able to get a lot done.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Great. So let's. I know Bedri, you had some questions, and we prepared some questions. So let's go ahead and start with these questions and hear from Abby, her responses.
Okay. So when Dr. Ucan told me about this presentation and what the topic being essays, I realized that the Common App released new prompts for 2025, and a lot of my friends were wondering when they should start thinking about their essay.
Yeah, obviously, there are definitely deadlines, but I think that depending on what your grade level and things like that, if you're not already a junior, probably don't need to worry too much. But if you are a junior, the more you can kind of think about it and at least maybe take a look at the prompts to kind of build some ideas is best, right? The deadline for early action is November 1st. So if you are, a rising senior at this point, utilizing your summertime to maybe think about it and at least start brainstorming, like I said, would be super helpful. And even if you're not going to do early action, at least, into the early fall, I would say is best time to start. It takes a lot of self-reflection, and a lot of high school kids get nervous, or kind of not necessarily embarrassed, but it's uncomfortable for them sometimes to, think about these things that have shaped us, and maybe the inner workings of who we are, right? So I think that it's important to at least kind of start that process to make yourself feel more comfortable in that whole scenario.
So it's more like the summer of before,
Yeah, I think summer before junior year, or before senior year, sorry, is definitely like prime time to like at least put it in your brain, especially if you're planning to do early action, or working with a coach. I think it's a good time to kind of start that process.
Because it's and Abby, that process takes a few months.
Definitely.
Writing a perfect essay takes at least a few months. It's not something you could. It's not one of your assignments in your.
Right. Yeah. The procrastination is not ideal for this.
You just cram in overnight and get it done in a few days.
Right.
So
right.
There's a lot goes in there. All right.
Yeah. And like Bedri said too, there's more coming. So the sooner you get the big one done, it's important. This is the one chance you get, to really showcase who you are outside of all of the, the grades and the transcripts and everything. So yeah.
Great. Yeah, I remember I went through so many essay drafts because I would keep sending them to my coach, and then be like, maybe you should change this because I don't feel like this is entirely you. So then I'd go and change it, and I change it. And so it's a long process. So the earlier you start, the better, definitely.
Yeah. And I saw Bedri's essay, and it was a really, really good essay that demonstrated who he is and his aspirations and passion for medical field. So it was really, he did write a really good essay.
Thank you. All right. And then my second question is, how should you select a prompt, and is there a process to help pick the best one?
Yeah, so obviously most students do Common App. I would say that they offer many options for a reason. Not everyone is the same. And I think that, again, this is the chance to showcase who you are outside of all the scores and the grades. I think it's important maybe to start thinking about maybe influential things in your life, like just a few or 5 or something along those lines, and narrow down what you want to communicate outside of your transcript, to let them know a little bit more about who you are as a person. And so once you kind of have those ideas, you can definitely look at those Common App prompts and, choose the one that best fits what you're most passionate about, right? Or the one you feel you can most be authentic about who you are. I think that's the most important piece.
Yeah, that word that you used, Abby, authentic, I think that's the key. So it must be your essay.
And a lot of kids are kind of afraid of being vulnerable in that way, I think. And even though your story maybe you've had something traumatic happen, or maybe something is a story that you don't share with many people, I think that they're a little afraid to be vulnerable. But at the end of the day, if that's helped shape who you are, that's important to your character and your personality, and that's authentic. So
yeah, nice.
All right, so what if I'm not Superman and I don't have crazy life events or challenges that I had to overcome? What can I write about?
I would say that prompt is a crowd favorite, and everybody kind of associates the Common App essay with something crazy that's happened to you, that's changed your life, or made a difference. And I always try to tell them, everybody has things in their life that have really influenced who you are and what you've become, and your dedication to school, or everything outside of what you do in the classroom every single day. But I think just again being who you are, and again choosing one of those prompts based on something that resonates with you. They give you several options for a reason, because not everybody has that story, or maybe they're not ready to tell that story, or there's something else that they're more passionate about. And so I think it's important to not always associate your personal essay with it being something along those lines. You can write about anything. I've had kids write about their favorite book or a song, or how their life, is a metaphor for different things. It could really go a million different ways, and that's what's cool about that essay. And I'm actually kind of jealous of the people that get to read them, because I'm sure it's pretty inspiring to see the different aspects of high school kids.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then
and one of the, just real quick, Bedri, one of the prompts is you can write about anything you want.
Yeah.
So you don't have to follow these prompts. You can write about anything you want that you think represents, who you are the best way. Like, we had a student last year, a female student who boxed. So she was boxing. She was a boxer, and so her essay was about what boxing meant to her as a female. Growing up in America as a young American female, what boxing means to her. And it was a really, really nice essay. And she got into just really competitive colleges, and she's attending one this year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of minimize things like that, right? Just things they enjoy doing. And sometimes that's where your best personality comes out on paper, when you're just writing about something that really matters to you, or that you spend most of your time doing. And I've seen some amazing essays that, have gotten kids into wonderful schools just based on things like that.
Yeah.
Definitely, because I see so many kids, they always try to look for like what's gonna look the most unique, when they overlook the little things that make them unique. So that's definitely a really important point that you brought up.
Yeah.
And then for my next question, how should I start? Should I freestyle or develop an outline? What should I do?
Obviously, there's no dedicated way to do, or special way to do it in terms of right or wrong. But I always say just start writing. Once you kind of have your topic, or the prompt that you're going to respond to, write what comes to mind first. Try to have no judgment on yourself about what comes out, and try to stick to how it, I guess, resonates with who you are. And again, the word authentic comes to mind again, making sure that you are even using your own voice. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about structure. Those things can be revised later. I think it's so important just to write, and don't stop until, you feel like you got everything on the page in terms of whatever experience or subject you're talking about.
Right. Okay, so let's say I did all of that, and now I'm looking at my first draft. So how can I enhance my writing after that? And how do I just make it look better, more presentable?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part, right? Where you got to kind of really go back and say, okay, is this good or not? I think it's important to really make sure you are keeping what is poignant or significant about your topic, or whatever it is that you're trying to convey about yourself. So I always suggest going back through and even just like highlighting or marking areas where you're like, this was really important to me. This sounds like me. This shows my personality. And then you can always go back through and start revising in terms of the bigger things, making it sound a little bit more, not scholarly per se, but just more, it flows better and has a better structure in terms of like from beginning to end, there's closure, things like that. But I definitely would say making sure that you keep that significance of the moment or the topic that you're discussing. So holding on to that, and then cutting away anything extra that you feel maybe doesn't apply.
Right. And then I remember when I first started looking at essays online, and as like a foundation first, and a lot of the essays that were accepted by Ivy Leagues, I was kind of worried, because I was worried that my essays would fall short, because The essays were literally literary masterpieces, you know, fancy metaphors and big words. So when there are so many essays like that, how should I make my essay stand out?
I mean, what should make your essay stand out is that it's yours and that we can get a sense of, you know, who you are, and whoever's reading it from the college should be able to kind of feel like they're experiencing it as well. It doesn't need, you know, to be overly embellished or have a ton of, like you said, like literary elements. But I think that people do get wrapped up in that a lot, you know, using big words and making sure that it sounds like I'm super smart. But a lot of that can be overkill, and take away from the meaning and what you're trying to communicate. There are options, obviously, to add in some of those metaphors, like you mentioned. I do love a good metaphor that like starts in the beginning and ends at the end. But the point is for you to encompass, again, your message and who you are trying to convey to the reader and the school that you're wanting to attend. You know, I tell kids all the time, like, think about rhetorical strategies and figurative language. You want that essay to come to life, right? Like sensory language, where you can feel, see, hear the things that, you know, we're supposed to be experiencing on the paper. You got to make it kind of come alive for whoever is reading the paper, because they've never met you, they don't know you. So that's really the best way to make that happen.
Definitely. You're an English teacher, so you probably know. Last year, my AP Lang teacher, when I was talking to her about essays, she said, "Show, don't tell."
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a thing that a lot of English teachers say.
I also teach AP Lang, so I get it. You heard rhetorical strategies and you were like, whoa.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And then how many drafts should I write? Because I know I wrote a lot of drafts, and who do I seek feedback from, and when do I know it's final?
I mean, this is another, you know, kind of open-ended answer for this. There's obviously no set number of drafts, right? And as much as we want it to be the perfect college essay, that doesn't ever exist, and kids get hung up on, are you sure it's okay? Like, should I submit? You know, pushing that button is very difficult for them. I think that they want to make sure everything is obviously you want it to be grammatically correct, and you want it to, you know, make sense and convey who you are, but you some point you got to submit, you know. I would say definitely multiple drafts for sure. But I think the feedback is the most important part that you mentioned. Getting a variety of people to look at that essay, and people that, one, know you for sure, at least one person who knows you well, to make sure that they get a sense of who you are on the page. And then also people that, you know, would be critical if need be, right? So if you hand it to a friend, or, you know, somebody who's maybe going to read it for a few minutes and say, yeah, that's pretty good, you should turn it in. That's not as valuable as somebody who would probably give you some honest feedback. So I would definitely say some different ranges of people that could look at it. I would say at least three. You know, somebody who knows language really well and can look at it for grammar, mechanics, and, you know, overall structure and things like that. Somebody who knows you well, that can look at it to make sure you are coming across on the page. And then maybe somebody else that might be a little overly harsh without, you know, taking away from what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, a couple of the people that I had look at my essays were current college students, just to see, you know, what they would think if they were on the admissions committee, because they're in that college. And I did that primarily with my supplementary essays, like, why did you pick this school? And I'd send it to them just to see, you know, like, if it's sending the right message to those people.
Yeah, that's another tough essay, because people tend to go kind of general and like, oh, it's a big school, and I want to go to a big school. So
I like the weather, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, teachers telling you, you know, they became a teacher to get the summers off.
Yeah.
That's the worst. That's the worst answer I can give, right?
Yeah.
And I use, you know, like, thank you, Bedri, and thank you, Abby, for great insight, you know, and wisdom that you shared. I use the following example with students to put that, put the significance of essay into perspective.
Yeah.
So, like, let's say you are a realtor and you are trying to sell this house. But the condition that the buyers, interested parties, cannot go in and tour the house. So they can, peek through a window, and that might be your SAT, and see, part of your kitchen. And then they could just move around, look through another window into your living room, and that's your like high school courses and GPA. So they get another idea from what the house looks like, but they cannot go in and fully see it. And then, but you have the option of describing the house to the buyer. That's your essay. So you can describe it the most authentic and most perfect way to convince them that this is the house that you should buy. And then the reference letters are the people who've been to your house before, kind of like telling, hey, I've been to that house before. It's a phenomenal house. Don't miss it, buy it. Don't worry about it. So when you put that all together, you're trying to convince your, the buyers that this is the great house that they can ever buy. So universities are like that. Colleges are like that. You cannot really truly see who you are until you go there and start, studying there. So they're trying, your essay, reference letters, and SAT scores, college, the courses that you've taken, your GPA, and then they're trying to visualize what this house looks like inside.
Another good metaphor, by the way.
Yeah.
So
I was about to say, I remember when I was asking you about advice for my essay, you mentioned something like that, and it has actually helped me a lot.
I might use it in the future. It's pretty good.
It's helped me. It's helped me sell myself, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate you joining us today and sharing just phenomenal information and great questions. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it, Bedri. Abby, thank you very much. So this concludes our presentation and webinar today. This was about how to write a perfect college essay. We hope that you find the information and wisdom and knowledge we shared with you useful, and that you could apply it to your own essay, and so that you can write your perfect essay for the colleges. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.